Who's teaching science in South Australia? It's a question of vital interest to students, parents, teachers and educators. Flinders University's Centre for Science Education in the 21st Century has come up with the answer after a survey of more than 600 high school teachers in the state. As Science21 Director Professor Martin Westall explains.
We undertook the study to determine to what extent teachers in South Australia are being asked to teach subjects outside of their particular area of expertise and specialisation in science. And so what we were asking was, to what extent are teachers formally qualified to teach the science subjects that they're teaching? What we found was that for teachers who were teaching years 8 to 10, 84% of them were qualified. And those that weren't qualified, it was because they didn't have a major in a scientific subject at all. So they were teachers, they were qualified teachers, but just didn't have that scientific background. Similarly, when we started to ask questions in the senior secondary sciences, we considered formally qualified to be teachers who had that teaching qualification, but also a major in the science subject that they were teaching, or a related subject. And so in biology, what we found was 75% of teachers are qualified to do so. In chemistry, we saw very similar numbers, around about 3/4 of chemistry teachers are qualified to do so. But when we got to physics, we found that only 58% of the people who are teaching physics in the state are actually formally qualified to do so. And so we've got around 42% of teachers who are not qualified to teach physics and are teaching outside of their area of expertise, and so they're potentially not comfortable in teaching that subject. When we asked some questions about the future, when we asked about young teachers, again in physics we saw some problems. We saw that only 39% of those people who are teaching physics who are under 40 are formally qualified to do so. So we're seeing that we've got some issues around who's teaching science in South Australia at the moment, and really saving up some issues around who will be teaching South Australia in the future. I think that we're going to have to think about some targets for the years to come. Given the situation that we're in now, it would be almost impossible to say that we have to have qualified, formally qualified teachers, let's say physics teachers, teaching physics classes, and nobody else can teach those classes. I don't think that was a reasonable thing. But I think what we need to do is to start to set some targets and to say, well, by this date in the future, we need more of our classes actually being taught by teachers who are qualified to do so.